Wild boars are always our primary target. With their destructive power and sharp claws, they have driven many families into hardship, wreaking havoc on the agricultural economy. Not only that, their agility and cunning make them a formidable challenge, one that even seasoned hunters like us must approach with caution. To ensure a perfect hunt, we continuously train on various terrains, from steep hills to dense forests, adapting to changing sights, maintaining a strong stance, and reacting swiftly to any surprise. Each training session is a solid preparation, making our shots sharper and more accurate. When the conditions are right, we enter today's hunt with a clear mind and iron discipline. Armed with all necessary gear and modern support equipment, we confidently ascend Espadella Hill, focusing completely on the task at hand. I choose a position with an ideal vantage point and quickly settle into a steady shooting stance, heart pounding in anticipation. 15 minutes pass, and finally, the shadow appears. Seizing the opportunity, a single shot rings out. The boar falls instantly. Immediately, success signals echo from all directions. A perfect start to what promises to be a successful hunt. The journey continues, our eyes fixed on the slope ahead. Despite the thick trees obstructing our view, I stay focused, following the slightest movement. And then, the massive figure emerges. A single decisive shot, swift and accurate, ends it all. The heavy target is brought down effortlessly, a well-deserved reward for our patience and total focus. After the loud victory, we don't rest. Eyes sharp, we scan every direction, looking for the smallest signs of movement. The figures of the wild boars begin to materialize, and everyone quickly sets into position, ready for battle. With the sighting scope perfectly adjusted, the shot rings out cold and accurate. The boar collapses, sending a warning to the rest of the wild creatures. The sounds of success follow from all sides, as one by one, the targets fall, controlled in an instant. This is the result of hours of diligent practice from our entire team. On the eastern slope, Jay's team is in the middle of an intense battle. After a tense standoff, Jay expertly anticipates the target's next move. With impeccable skill, he presses the boar into a corner, ensuring it has no chance to escape. A series of decisive shots rings out, sealing the victory in a perfect, convincing manner. Relying on signals from the hunting dogs, we swiftly close in on the target. Suddenly, the boar appears. Without hesitation, I pull the trigger. The bullet races through the air and slams it to the cold ground. After countless encounters with wild beasts, my reflexes and composure have become second nature. Nothing shakes me now. As the last rays of sunlight fade, the shadows remain hidden among the hills. We don't give them a chance to escape. Quickly, we initiate a full assault, locking down each target. The wild boars are unaware that their peaceful moments are about to end. Looking at the ravaged, torn-up fields, once rich and fertile, we knew right away this enemy wasn't your average nuisance. According to local villagers, the one leading the charge was a massive hog, weighing hundreds of kilos and mean as hell. Without hesitation, we set out with one goal in mind: track it down and restore peace to the people. But the question hung heavy in the air. Would our experience and teamwork be enough to face down this monster? Follow our hunting crew as we take on one of our toughest missions yet. At the crack of dawn, after a quick strategy session, we moved into position. Each member took up their post, locking down every vital trail, every path those wild hogs might use to escape. The game was on. No matter how cunning they are, wild boars are creatures of habit, always sticking to the same beaten trails between feeding grounds and cover. As soon as the beast stepped out from behind the brush, I squeezed the trigger. One shot. Boom! Clean, precise, professional. It dropped instantly, never even made it to the tree line on the other side. For a true hunter, victory doesn't come from brute strength. It comes from a mind that knows how to read the game. The sun was beating down hard as we moved up the hillside. We knew the heat would drive the prey into thick brush for cover, and that's when our four-legged partner truly earns his keep. The moment a dark shape broke through the bushes, I squeezed the trigger. A burst of shots tore through the air. Loud, sharp, finally, the beast went down in an instant. Our teamwork isn't just from training, it's forged from hundreds of hunts, moments where life and death were just heartbeats apart. The calm didn't last long. The hounds picked up the scent again, their barks echoing through the hills. Everyone froze, breath held, waiting. Then, out of nowhere, it came charging from the base of the hill, straight at me. No hesitation. I raised my rifle and took aim. Boom! Boom! 2 shots. Clean hit. Dropped it on the spot. Danger was close, too close, but we hunters stand our ground. Every inch of this land is home, and protecting it from savagery isn't just our duty, it's a vow we'll never break. If that shot gave you chills, drop us a like. After hours of lying in wait, we had barely closed our eyes for a quick rest when the signal came through. The boar was roaming near the foot of the hill. Instantly, the team was on the move. The hounds did their job, flushing the beast from its cover. I followed its line of escape, steady and focused, then pulled the trigger. Boom! The shot landed square on target. One clean hit, no wasted motion. The animal dropped instantly. That single decisive shot was the result of thousands of hours of training, razor-sharp focus, and a heart that never flinches. The barrel was still hot when word came in from below. Our team had spotted the alpha boar. After an entire day of tracking, our efforts were finally paying off. I held my ground, ready to intercept. The ambush plan was set. Blocked both ends of its escape route. The whole forest seemed to hold its breath. The moment it stepped out of the brush, David swung his rifle toward it, then boom! A thunderous shot ripped through the silence, shaking the trees. Unstoppable, powerful, the beast's massive frame collapsed to the forest floor. Just when we thought the hunt was over for the day, we spotted another target, lurking dangerously close to the highway. From a distance, the hound's barks grew louder, pushing the dark, furious shadow right toward my position. I held my breath, finger on the trigger, waiting for the perfect moment. Then, boom! Clean, fast, decisive. The beast crashed to the ground, bringing the chase to an abrupt end. Remember this: if you're not a trained hunter, don't ever try to face these animals head on. Out here, the line between hunter and hunted can vanish in an instant. The Land Cruiser, heavy with today's hard-earned haul, rumbled down the trail on the way home. Inside each of us, a quiet voice said, "We're ready to trade sleep, strength, even face danger." Just to see the grateful smiles of the locals, knowing their fields are safe once again. Hit follow and join us as we write the next chapter of this journey tomorrow. The farming system in the Czech countryside has been under continuous attack by wild boars, causing severe damage to the harvest last season. Thomas, my longtime farmer friend, contacted me in urgent need of help to eliminate this threat. I quickly prepared myself for the perilous mission ahead, knowing that this trip would not only determine the fate of his family, but also that of the entire rural community. At 5 a.m., we arrived at the edge of the forest. Our specialized weapons and modern equipment were thoroughly checked before we ventured into the woods. The hunting dogs were released, bringing their strength and keen instincts to track down the prey. The familiar barking signal echoed through the air, and I immediately selected the optimal position to intercept. With skills honed through many hunts, the dogs quickly spotted the wild boars and drove them into my range. And then, in that moment, a deafening shot rang out, marking the beginning of a perfect coordination between man and hunting dogs. Suspecting that there were still more boars hiding deeper inside, we decided to push further in. Everyone quickly spread out, each covering a different area, moving silently as we tracked our targets. My eyes scanned the surroundings, spotting small groups as well as solitary individuals. To avoid startling them, I decided to take down the lone ones first. As the target came into my sights, I squeezed the trigger decisively. The beast collapsed, unable to comprehend the situation. It was a moment of calm, precision, and total control of the situation. Groups of wild boars, large and small, rushed out one after another, testing our patience and judgment. While I was focused on dealing with them, a few managed to slip away unnoticed. Yet, I wasn't worried, knowing that Nick was covering the lower end, ensuring no boar could slip through. As soon as the target became clear, a sharp shot rang out, decisively taking down the beast in an instant. What do you think of this strategy? On the edge of the forest, Jack's team was tasked with guarding the perimeter, where the quiet atmosphere stood in stark contrast to the deafening gunshots from the central area. Yet, their eyes never wavered, remaining focused and alert to every sound and movement. The distant gunfire could easily send the wild boars into a panic, causing them to flee into areas like this one. Soon enough, a wild boar appeared. The moment it stepped out from behind the trees, the bullet flew and hit its mark. Though not large, it was still a threat that had to be dealt with immediately to prevent further chaos in other areas. Before we could even get close to inspect, the sound of the hunting dogs caught Jack's attention. Without hesitation, he charged straight toward the source of the noise. "Look, it's no small one," Jack whispered. The moment had come, and his finger squeezed the trigger instantly. The shot rang out, adding another mark to this thrilling journey. One by one, more targets were taken down by our professional teammates. After the fog cleared, the light had never been so clear. The prey, hidden in the mist, now stood exposed in the open field. We quickly deployed and took down the targets with perfect precision. After hours of fighting, the spoils were beyond expectations. The sweat and relentless effort paid off, bringing a successful and productive hunting morning to a close. In just one night, my uncle's once fertile fields were turned into rubble. The wild boars flooded in under the cover of darkness, tearing up the land and destroying months of hard work. The scent of the overturned earth, the deep imprints of their hooves, no longer marks, but a blatant challenge. Standing before the devastation, I couldn't remain silent. We entered this battle not just to protect the crops, but to preserve our faith, our meals, and the value of labor passed down through generations. At 5 a.m., my uncle and I set out toward the field invaded by these wild beasts. Armed with state-of-the-art weapons and supported by the hunting dogs, we moved deeper into the field. My eyes scanned the surroundings, quickly spotting several of them scattered across the area. I decided to advance from the edge of the field toward the center, dealing with them one by one. The figures of the boars, once hidden among the tall grass, were swiftly halted by the deadly accuracy of my shots. As we pressed on, the sounds of the hunting dogs grew louder, signaling that the massive wild boar was surrounded. Yet, it still thrashed, desperately seeking a way to escape. A perfect shot sealed its fate, and saving the field from further devastation. Without a moment's rest, the eastern side of the field signaled the appearance of a wild boar herd, seemingly retreating toward their den. My uncle and I quickly split into positions to block their escape route as efficiently as possible. I moved to a clear spot for an ambush. There they were, numerous and seemingly unaware of my presence. I focused on the largest boar in the group and took the shot. Perfect! The bullet struck its mark. But the rest of the herd, quick to react, sprinted uphill, seeking refuge. With years of experience hunting wild boars, my uncle quickly anticipated their movements and positioned himself to intercept from above. As soon as the target appeared, the sound of gunshots rang out sharply, decisively taking down the lone boar. But we hadn't expected them to be so cunning. Just as the battle was heating up, another herd suddenly charged from a different direction, catching us off guard. In the blink of an eye, they had closed in on the hillside, fast, relentless, and more dangerous than anything we'd faced before. With the full force mobilized, we moved to the position above the hillside, ready to begin an intense pursuit. After a few minutes of lying in ambush, the wild boars began to emerge, each one following the other across our sights. The first round of shots was fired. The lead boar was hit, but still tried to flee, pulling the rest of the herd forward. Unfortunately for them, this time, the situation was different. With the team in place, they couldn't escape the trap that had been carefully set. A series of gunshots rang out, marking our absolute dominance and the effectiveness of the team in a pursuit that had been meticulously planned. We continued moving to the neighboring hillside for a thorough sweep. After the recent gunfire, the wild boars were in panic, retreating deep into the thick brush. The team quickly split up into designated areas, maintaining control and watching for even the smallest movements. Suddenly, the rustling sound grew louder, each moment bringing it closer. Tension mounted as all eyes focused through the scopes. The figure of the prey emerged clearly, and a rapid sequence of shots rang out, decisive and unyielding. Each bullet flew with precision, and several of the boars dropped on the spot. With the chase now over, the tension lifted, confirming that we had regained the upper hand. As nightfall approached, we packed up our gear and headed back, feeling a sense of fulfillment. Just as it seemed the hunt had ended, fate had other plans. A large, solitary beast suddenly appeared, charging toward us. Without giving it a chance to escape, a clean, decisive shot rang out. The hunt concluded with satisfaction, not just because of the spoils, but also for the clarity, persistence, and skill to hold steady until the very last moment. This trip back to visit my dad in Texas was sadder than I expected. Standing before the barren, ruined sweet potato fields, the culprit was clear: wild boars. Furious and determined, I knew what had to be done. This hunt wasn't just for passion, it was to protect family. A plan was set in motion, but who would get the happy ending? Join me and find out. At the rally point, we discussed strategy, dividing into multiple attack teams. Static buzzed faintly through the radio headsets, binding us into one unit. Guns loaded, helicopter blades roared, the signal that we were ready. At first light, we arrived at rugged, rocky terrain, hunting the enemy's shadow. Suddenly, a huge dark figure burst from the brush, unaware its every move was already locked in our sights. Without a word, my team and I moved in perfect sync, pulling triggers as the helicopter swooped in to stop this destruction in its tracks. That opening shot was a vow. Today, not one wild boar would escape. Intense silence. Each gunshot from nearby teammates meant another enemy down. The sun climbed higher, heat thickening the air. The crafty boars split from the herd, darting into sparse woods, using trees as shields. They moved in arcs, trying to outsmart us. This was a test of patience. We didn't rush, but calmly tracked, predicting its path. Then, in a brief lapse, the bullet ended the deadly game of hide and seek. With grit and persistence, even the craftiest prey falls. One by one, the boars were wiped out. This was the reward of years of experience, courage, and unshakable trust in each other. After hours of battle, we paused to recharge, but the war was far from over. Flying low near bushes, we did a final sweep before moving to the nearby grasslands. When the last prey there fell, we pressed on to the flatter pastures. Luck smiled on us. We encountered a boar charging directly toward us, almost offering itself up. Seizing this golden opportunity, I aimed and fired at the zigzagging target. The stubborn last one finally surrendered. Gunfire scattered nearby boars, who bolted like black arrows across the field. Locked on a target and squeezed the trigger. Down went one. No time to cool down the barrel, I swung to the next. When hunters work as one, the only outcome for the beast is the earth beneath it. From another direction, teammates' bursts took down more targets. We closed in like a vice, leaving no gap for escape. During patrol, we spotted a lone boar running across green grass. The helicopter closed in. My cockpit window pointed squarely at the target. At the perfect distance, I held my breath, locked the aim, and squeezed the trigger. Bang! The boar flipped and fell instantly. The noise startled nearby boars, who surged out in a tight line. We chased hard, calling James' team over the radio to cut them off. My gun roared non-stop, silencing chaos wherever the barrel pointed. James' crew arrived swiftly. He fired into the running shadows, hitting the lead boar. Dust exploded as it hit the ground. As one threat ended, my brother's shots rang out from the other side. Good. More boars dropped. My teammates nailed every frantic, desperate target. The hunt paused as the sun set, but we knew this war is long. Come fall, when fields dry and boars return stronger, we'll be back. When the target appeared, the helicopter closed in, giving me the perfect shot to take down the prey in a blink. No matter the numbers, there's no retreat until this land is safe. My mother's sweet potato field in Texas looks like a battlefield, the earth torn up, churned into a chaotic mess. Culprits? None other than wild hogs, mercilessly ravaging everything in sight. We knew we had to act. What would be the outcome of this life or death showdown? Join us and find out. Before we started, we spent all day yesterday scouting the area, marking water sources, automatic feeders, and the countless hog trails crisscrossing the land. Knowing the terrain was key to picking the perfect ambush spots. This morning, dressed in camo that blends perfectly with the environment and wearing quiet, specialized boots, we did a final check. Radios, rifles loaded, and the pickup truck ready in the rear. Our first spot was an old forest where multiple trails intersect. The wind was blowing against us, masking our scent. Suddenly, Chris gave the hand signal to freeze. Through my scope, my heart skipped a beat. A massive wild hog was rooting behind a huge tree. Man, this beast must have weighed over 400 pounds. The initial shock quickly sharpened into intense focus. I squeezed the trigger repeatedly. Bullets chased the hog as it tried to slip behind the tree for cover, but it was too late. Finally, the beast dropped. A spectacular trophy and a promising start to the day. Following fresh signs, we moved to another area. Ahead was an open clearing, the perfect stage for decisive shots. Wild hogs have incredibly sharp hearing and smell, so we kept a safe distance, never facing them head on unless we were sure of our shot. Minutes later, a sounder of hogs crossed the clearing. I decided to take the last one, slightly separated from the group. Locking my aim, I gently squeezed the trigger. The hog was hit, but survival instinct kicked in, and it bolted deep into the woods. As the day cooled, wild hogs became more active. We switched tactics, setting up an ambush near a preset automatic feeder. This method saves energy, cuts down noise, and gets us within ideal shooting range. Hidden inside a hunting blind, we waited patiently. Soon, a few hogs cautiously approached. I held my fire until one stepped into range. Then, the shot rang out. The hog dropped immediately. My teammate radioed that hogs were showing up at the eastern feeder. We moved quickly to the spot. There it was! I waited for it to get closer, just a bit more. Boom! The moment it paused, I fired, clean and precise. Shooting a stationary hog maximizes the chance of an instant takedown, saving ammo and keeping the area calm. Not long after, another hog approached the feeder. Holding my breath, I took the shot. The loud crack echoed and the beast collapsed onto the ground. Just as we were about to pack up, another sounder arrived at the feeder. We knew this was our last chance of the day. The moment one stepped into my sight, I made a quick, decisive shot. The hog dropped, and the rest scattered into the night. We headed back in the Jeep Wrangler, the truck bed loaded with trophies, especially that giant over 400-pound beast. The joy wasn't just in the successful hunt, but in knowing that tonight, the villagers' fields would finally be safe again. They'll be grateful for that.